Okay, we'll move right into study session. And the first
Okay.
one up is Fire Department for Williams Energy Grant.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have one item for you. The Williams Energy has issued a grant to the City of McPherson Fire Department. The grant is for $1,000 and can only be utilized to support the COVID-19 hazmat responder support. We request a motion to accept that grant from Williams Energy for $1,000. I'll be bringing that next week, actually. Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't have it.
Okay. So,
Good.
Okay. Public Lands, Wayne Burns.
Morning again.
Good morning.
I have a request for a bullpen for patron safety and security, and per BPU's request, the electric panels and transformers at Lakeside Park Band Shell and Pavilions 5 and 6 needs a 6-foot fence to be erected around it for the safety. The lowest quote we have is the Sons of Fence in the amount of $1,551.31.
Anybody have a problem? We bring next week.
Okay, thank you.
CVV.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Morning. I have two items today. The air conditioning in the trolley quit working last summer and would like to get that fixed. Midway Motors can fix the AC for $1,600, and that's total cost. And then my second request is for a $750 grant for Chris Straffman for the Mid-America Youth Basketball Tournament that will be held July 4th and 5th. Some of it will be held at the community building. I'm not sure where the other part will be held at.
Okay, anybody have any problem
Yep.
bringing that next week?
Bring it.
Either one of them?
The
Okay,
air
bring them
conditioner.
both next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Public Works, Jeff Woodward.
First one is on the Hardup Elizabeth Street reconstruction project. The property owner at 300 South Hardup requested a second entrance to his property to have access to his backyard. And this is just from the curb and gutter back to the right-of-way line. Cost is $1,259.70. We've written up a change order to accommodate that, and the property owner has paid the city the $1,259.70
Okay.
because it was a second entrance.
Good.
Next, on the David Pyle Apartments drainage allowance, as an incentive for development of affordable housing, the commission offered David Pyle $6,000 to go towards drainage. This offer was memorialized in a First Amendment agreement dated July 17, 2018. The agreement stated that the city would pay David Pyle $6,000 upon first certificate of occupancy. The first certificate of occupancy has been issued, and we're ready to move forward with the payment.
Okay, you'll bring it next week.
Bring it.
Okay, well, we're down to COVID-19 update. And we're only going to cover the update, not the whole report.
Yep. Just to give you a briefing here from this past 2-week period as we've dealt with the COVID-19 piece. I will kind of just hit the yellow highlighted areas because those are the areas that have changed since last time, so I've got to go through those quickly. We've spent some time enforcing and supporting Phase 1 and also the upcoming Phase 1.5, which we're now in, of the Ad Astra plan to reopen Kansas as presented in Executive Order 20-31, which is issued by Governor Laura Kelly. We're continuing to work to make sure that that's understanding of all the expectations with that portion of the plan are out there and known by people. As of Friday, May 1st, there were 26 identified or recognized positive cases in McPherson County, and there were 18 confirmed recoveries as of last Friday. I don't remember whether there was an update this weekend. I don't think there was, but I think I did hear from Shaylee, and she says that she sent me an email this morning saying that we're holding pat at the 26th at this point. There's one new, we did receive one new request from an outside agency for supplies, and that was the YMCA that we received over the last 2 weeks, and we were able to fulfill that with some of our internal equipment, internal PPE as it relates to that. We've also worked with, kind of moving on to the next item, when it has to do with ensuring all citizens are able in a safe manner to secure all the resources needed to live from home for an extended period of time. This includes those most susceptible for becoming infected for COVID-19. The update we got from Laura Vanderhoof, as it deals with all the outside agencies and the housing issues, the human services piece of it. Individuals, the United Way of McPherson County, individuals continue to apply for funds through the United Way of McPherson County Response and Recovery Fund. The greatest needs have been for food, utility, rent, and mortgage. The Kansas Health Foundation did award United Way of McPherson County $25,000 towards their efforts in assisting individuals and families in a way that meets their basic needs and that have been impacted by COVID-19. Applications are still being accepted for assistance, and all in need are encouraged to apply for assistance. So that's a big one out there that if people have need, reach out to the United Way of McPherson County. Housing Coalition has not been receiving many calls for assistance due to suspension of evictions. The office does not have a date for in-person services to begin. There are concerns regarding the impact that trauma is having, and that was reported to by Laura. Lindsborg Summer Lunch Program offering curbside meals this summer. Currently 250 children are receiving meals, and it's anticipated those 250 children plus caregivers will need the summer lunch program out there. And so that's our neighbors to the north that are working on that. YMCA, Y Kids is currently serving 30 children, and they're full. This is the first time we've reported that, and there is a hope. Their hope is to care for 60 children when school ends as part of their normal Y Kids program, and so they're hoping to continue to do that. Step MC in-person services are scheduled to resume on June 1st. Services at this point continue to be offered remotely. Safe Hope is a hotline. Their hotline is receiving an increased number of calls. The facility will open on June 1st, while teleservices continue until then. Some services are scheduled by appointment at this time. Heart to Heart Advocacy Center, the request of services has increased, and they are planning on receiving an increase in referrals in response to abuse that have happened. Grace Med Dental Clinic opened on May 14th, and the hygiene services were scheduled to start today. They're receiving few requests for medical care, likely due to individuals being cautious, and I think you probably find that's universal across most doctors' offices. Cerebral Palsy Research Foundation and wheelchair clinics is open with limitations to meet health needs. And so that's the Health and Human Services piece of this. There was not an update from the Industrial Liaison Group this time, but I do have an update kind of on what we've done from public messaging and public information standpoint. Over this last 2-week period, phase 1 information, multiple infographics have been sent out and communicated, and I think we've started to put 1.5 stuff out as well as it's come out. McPherson Community Food Drive we had was a great success, as we mentioned last week. We raised around $4,000 along with huge donation of food for the McPherson County Food Bank. There's also disinfect your home guidance infographic that was put out. It was created and published. There's just some general hub site updates that were given. And then we also put a solicitation out, the same plea that I put out for businesses that are interested in the CDBG CV fund that we plan to apply for. Finally, want to give an update on what the McPherson Chambers have been involved with on the business side of things. I shared pictures and quotes on why we wear masks. I had several people post their pictures or quotes, as well as a variety of comments. They visited with senior housing community and was trying to get masks for all their residents. And then the chamber continues to work to connect PPE resources with those in need. I know that the health department has also made masks available as well for folks that were for businesses that had that need as we begin to reopen. Leadership McPherson, a program of the McPherson Chamber of Commerce, is offering match contributions up to $8,500 for the weekend food program. This program is not funded by USDA, and other needed programs to serve children as part of the MCCF COVID-19 Recovery Fund. $1,525 of the $8,500 have been raised at this point. So they're continuing to look for matching funds there to be able to provide that program as necessary. And then the City of McPherson plans to pursue the Community Development Block Grant, which we've already talked about. So that's what's happened over the last 2-week period. If you flip forward, you kind of see some of the supplies, and we continue to hold steady with the supplies that are available. The things that we have, we're in pretty good shape with, and some of the things that we need, we're having a hard time getting a hold of, and those would be like what do you call it? The TJ, are you still having issues with getting smocks, or what do you call those?
Gowns.
The gowns, yeah.
We have not been able to get any.
Yeah, that's the one thing, and we've still continued to, things like hand sanitizer and gloves are more readily available than they once were, I think.
Wipes are not, there's still a trouble to get wipes and gowns and
So, the things that we've had challenges with continue to be challenges, and some of the more common things we've been able to get, and we've been able to keep a fairly good stock in place as it relates to those. EOC objectives, I'm just going to hit on the new objectives for this upcoming briefing period, which is a 2-week period. And some of these I'd like to have some discussions on, and we'll want you guys to take some action on at some point here as well. As we mentioned the last briefing period, we at some point need to make a decision regarding the water park operations. Back on May 4th, the decision was delayed until June 1st. Between now and that time, and since May 4th, we continue to collect information from what other aquatic facilities from around the state and the region are doing. We're watching changing directives from the governor, and we're continuing to review plans. In the event that the water park was to reopen, we've got the aquatics director that is working on a plan and plans to bring it on Tuesday of next week. If we were to open, what that potential plan might look at. So the idea is we'll be able to give you guys a week or almost a week to review that and make a decision based upon that information. So you can expect that we'll have that updated presented plan from Kyle Roberts, who's the aquatics director, next week. Not with the idea that you'd take any action, but that you'd be able to see and ask any questions as it relates to that. So we do expect that to happen. We would like to, we want to discuss, and I think this is maybe a good time to do it, to give further guidance for the city of McPherson continuity issues as reopening begins, including accessibility to city buildings and meetings, and review recommendations presented by the various departments for reopening. So with that, there's a number of things that are attached, and I'd encourage you to go back to the actual regular agenda, because I attached those there. I probably should have just put those in study session, but if you go back there, there's a number of attachments that talk about some proposals on what we're reopened. And do you actually have copies of the public land stuff, right, Wayne?
Yes, I gave.
You gave everybody?
copies to everybody.
Okay. So it's this document here that looks like this.
Yep. All right.
So, Wayne, do you want to talk about that first?
Sure. Okay. Under the reopening guidelines provided by the Kansas Recreation and Parks Association, the City of McPherson staff recommends the following limited reopening of parks for passive uses by individuals. We want to provide an outlet to people to remain physical and mentally active as we enter into phase 2. Based on how the public responds to the changes, we will determine what the next steps could be in coordination with our local health authorities. I have sent this over to the health department, and they have agreed to it and approved it. The City of McPherson Park Department would like to open all the playgrounds. We would like to open Bremeyer Dog Park and encourage the dog park patrons to disinfect. We'd like to open up Challenger Park basketball courts and limit it to 10 players per court. Wall Park Skate Park, 3 pavilions at Wall Park with a limited number of tables. Currently, we do not have enough staff to do the entire park system and disinfect the entire park system like we're currently doing. We will continue to do disinfecting of city amenities on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The places that will be closed will be the community building, all public restrooms, lakeside pavilions, and the Girl Scout cabin until phase 2. Do we have any questions? Any recommendations?
Any concerns with any of those?
It's up to the dog park users, patrons, to disinfect the gate themselves going in and out.
We'll disinfect the gate, but we encourage them to have hand sanitizer.
You'll just do it 3 days a week, though. You're not going to do it every day. You're not going to do it every
We're not
hour.
going to do it every day. We'll do it the 3 days a week. We've encouraged them. I've had conversation with the dog park officials, and they went out yesterday and got it all ready to go for the opening if we open up today.
I guess 3 days a week, what does that do for us? I mean, I'm not, I guess that's just a question more than anything.
Yeah, that's,
Is that a recommendation by somebody, or is that something, We're just thinking that's what we're
That's how
gonna do?
we've been doing it with all of our playgrounds throughout this process, throughout the crisis since March.
The question is, if you're opening them up and people are going to start playing in them, is 3 days a week enough? Or is that a concern anymore? That's my question.
Well, the most common practice right now is every 2 hours in restrooms and public restrooms in most of your parks. We don't have the staff to go out there every 2 hours and be spraying it down.
What are other parks across the state doing as they reopen? Are they doing them on similar schedules?
You have some of them that's been open the entire time, and they leave it up to their patrons to practice, clean hygienes, and the other ones are disinfecting, like we are. And you have some of them that have enough staff where they can go every 2 hours and sanitize the hard surfaces down.
It's all over the board then, basically.
Yes.
I guess back to my 3-day deal here, 3 times or whatever. Why don't you just put a sign up there, do it yourself?
We can do that.
You know, I mean, I guess I'm not satisfied with 3 days is going to gain you anything. There's people going to do it, people there every day, not 3 days that you clean.
Yeah, and I think the idea behind the 3 days is in case there were people that got on there when it was closed before, so, you know, that it brings up a good point. I mean, I don't know what 3 days does when you
I don't
open them
either.
up. But
Well, I think we could take a look at, can we do more than 3 days? But our sign should say, open, each patron responsible for disinfecting. We only do, and put your schedule up.
Okay. We can do
That way, we've covered the people helping out and let them know what our schedule is. So if we're disinfecting on Mondays or Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturday and Sunday is going to be bigger days, I would think. Maybe Monday would be a day that we don't do, but we need to come up with something, and they need to communicate that they need to be they need to practice the disinfecting themselves.
Okay, we can do that. Anything else?
so do you want to talk about any of the other, were you getting into the others as well? Or are you going to talk to the community building at all and give kind of an update?
Well, the
based upon-
community building would be phase 2, and on page 3 of the legal size paper there, we have procedures for reopening the community building, because we thought we were gonna be able to open it today. We got the knuckle curveball on Thursday, so we had to change that. And, but Nick has put together the procedures for the community building when we do reopen it in phase 2.
I think next Tuesday we should go through a little bit more the next week.
Okay,
We'll keep on going through those things, and if it doesn't change, but we're under
and
time.
the golf course will discontinue operations as we have in phase 1.
How are things going?
Oh, the golf course is doing real well.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, yeah.
You want to talk about municipal court?
We met last week with Judge Mills, and kind of sat down and went over a preliminary plan. So the current plan is to resume court the week of June 1st. All proper PPE will be supplied to judge, prosecutor, Janie, like masks, all that stuff. And we'll put up a clear barrier between the judge and defendants. Check-in for court will be via phone, so we'll ask them to wait in their vehicle, and all this is being sent out with a reschedule notice and a document. To check in from their vehicle, let the court clerks know they're there. They'll call them, let them know when they're scheduled to come in, and then they'll come into the courtroom at that time. We will have accommodations for those that walked there, or if it's raining outside and stuff like that. Well, we do have everything spaced out in the lobby, 6 feet apart for that. We'll resume court Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays as normal, from 8 a.m. to 11:45. That's what we currently have scheduled. We'll also schedule court on some Mondays and Fridays if it works for Judge Mills and Brian Bina, to catch up on the backlog of cases that we have built up right now. As far as court appearances, I'll see 3 at a time, 15 minutes apart. First appearances will be two at a time every 15 minutes. And status conferences will be 2 at a time every 10 minutes. And status conferences will only occur in June. They'll set the trials out to later dates in July once we get more progressed through the phases. Whenever we do make the decision to open up the lobby back to people, we'll mark on the floor the social distancing for if people come in to pay. We'll still encourage them to pay over the phone via debit or credit card or by mail as we're doing now. Both court clerks resumed working together in the office this morning, just to get everything sent out and get all the reschedules out to everybody. And then VIN inspections did start again last week. It's the same kind of procedure. They come up, VIN inspector goes out to the vehicle, reads the VIN, and then comes in, so no one's ever coming into the lobby. They're just doing it all, just walking out to the vehicle, so. And that's all that we have. If there's any questions on any of that.
Okay,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
You want to talk about anything at Public Works, any changes? I might be ready, I'm calling you two things.
We quit split shifting today out at wastewater. Other than that, no changes.
Hey, great report.
Thank you.
We get a few other people to get that succinct. Anybody else?
Anything, you guys are still the same as?
We're back to normal work schedule. And the emergency action reporting for accidents, we're going to lift that as well, go back to normal procedures.
Okay. And then,
We're gonna continue with, to watch the trends and see if it climbs at all, while this is opening back up, we're gonna continue the operation that we've been doing, procedures of taking temperatures and monitoring everything.
and this building is obviously open for discussion. I've got different staff that feel different ways as it relates to this building, that we could continue potentially through phase 1.5 to do what we're doing, because we're letting people in as they come to the door. We've let just about everybody that came in that didn't have a fever. We've checked temperatures. We've asked if there's any. We've asked some of the questions that you ask if there's any concerns of coronavirus. So we're kind of split over what we do here, and maybe I was hoping for some guidance on what you guys would like to do with City Hall. Obviously our meetings are still going to have some limitations, the 10-person limitations, at least through the next phase. And for that reason, it may be worthwhile to stay and operate as we're doing right now. We were kind of hit with the curveball. We were ready to open up today, but with 1.5 and limited the gatherings to 10 people, it may still be in our best interest to go ahead and continue till 1.5 is over to open us up fully. But as I mentioned, everybody continues to work, and we continue to allow people to come in upon appointment, or if somebody needs to take care of any business, we'll work with them.
I would recommend that we keep doing what we're doing through phase 1.5. That way, we get somebody with temperature or with symptoms, they're not going to get in here. Like we said when we established it, we don't have backups for some of these positions, so I would rather extend it for these 2 weeks, and if we run good, if somebody really needs a permit or something like that, we've always brought them in, and as long as they didn't have fever or any symptoms, and work through it. So I think it just keeps our small number of workers inside this building safe and comfortable with the situation till we get to 2 point.
I agree.
Okay, so there'll be no need to change.
Do you guys want to, that's all the updates I have on city building locations. Do you guys want, when we come out, to vote on as presented, and we'll put the information out as it is, or just want to go ahead and move forward with it like that?
But
Is there any formal action we need to take, Jeff?
I don't think we need any formal action, we just do what we do,
Okay.
okay? You want to talk about the vacation?
Yes. It's summer's here, and with school officially would have been out this week as it was. I've got a lot of employees that have had expressed concerns as it relates to vacations, because a lot of them have put deposits down on vacations, other things of that nature. We originally put a limitation on vacation usage to be able to control some of the issues with as many areas as we had under travel quarantine as identified by the state of Kansas. We wanted to limit the ability of our employees to go to some of those places and come back and have 14 days of quarantine. Though not all of these locations have come off the map, there's a lot of places that have come off and others that have come back on. It's to a point where, well, the action we took when we originally started was to make it only upon request approved by the department heads, and we waived the max limits on vacation accrual, are the things that are the specific actions that we took. The question is, are we to a point where we can start considering allowing use of vacation time? And are there some other limitations we can put to ensure that, or to do our best ability to limit employees that might go to areas that are mandatory quarantine areas? And I've kind of put together a list of kind of a concept idea of how we could potentially open that back up. If you've all had a chance to read through that piece right there, I've given it to the city attorney. We've looked at it internally here. There's nothing magical about the dates. We could start as early as Wednesday to start opening up vacations, or we could push it a little bit further. I will tell you that I know that I've heard from a number of people that had planned to start vacations as early as next week, and if we tell them that it's not going to be allowed, then those people will be out some of the financial commitments they've made to some of that. But at the same time, we have to protect the continuity and the well-being of the city. So with that being said, is there anything you want to say as kind of what I presented, Jeff?
The two comments that I made over the weekend were, one, I would recommend that they look at the county/state, prohibited zones, if you will, or quarantine zones. If they knowingly travel to one of those on vacation, I think you should consider consequences for that, and there can be a range of that. They still get their 14 days of quarantine with pay under federal law, but that doesn't mean there can't be consequences for intentionally going to some place that's hot. If they get caught, they travel there, then it gets listed, plane gets redirected, something like that. That I don't think there's any culpability on. The other comment that I made is, when you look at the list of people who've reached their maximum accruals and gone over, it's a lot of first responder folks and a bunch of senior leadership here at the city. I would give them an extended time to burn that up. Otherwise, you're going to have a ghost town this summer as everybody burns through it, and that may not be the best time.
And I was originally thinking the end of September, but you could extend it to the end of the year or into next year if you so chose to do that.
Not knowing whether we're going to get another spike or not in this, I just as soon give the flexibility to extend it all the way to December 31st, 2021, all of next year, and then you have a chance to work these things out. Department heads can keep too many people from going at one time and even it out, and you're not worried about if you can't get it in this year, you've got next year to add a couple days here or there, and everybody, that's about as much flexibility, I think, as we could give. I think the other point is well taken, that if you intentionally go to a hot spot, well, you still will get the federal guideline pay. You are still going to face, at the end of that, a disciplinary action.
I would say that I agree with that. Good statement.
Are you okay with, when do you want to set a date to start allowing normal use of vacation? Do you want to set a specific date to do that? Wednesday of this week?
Yeah.
You want to go, are you okay with that?
Yeah,
What's the
we
holiday,
will
so-
set the date when we go back to the thing, and we can do Wednesday or Thursday this week to help the people that have made deposits for early June or end of May. But still going to be with the approval of department head. Department head has to help us stay staffed to an adequate number while we're going through this.
Yeah, and that's a point I brought up in there is, you know, it's easy to say we're opening it up, but we don't want the entire city to start taking vacation and not have enough people. So it still has to be staggered, and you still have to make those requests, and they still have to be approved. They can still be turned down if we got staffing issues, so.
Okay? Okay. We got anything else in the study sessions?
Anybody else on the line that has anything they want to add to my briefing?
Seeing anything? Okay, study sessions are over.